Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And thank you so much for joining us. We're going to invite you to be a part of our discussion, start things off, with the approach to the health, the wellness of the mind, body, and soul. And we've got to find a gentleman who's going to start us off. Hopefully, he'll be joined by his colleague very shortly as we return from the break. And then at 1 o'clock, they may sting and they may bite. No, it's not Muhammad Ali. Whether it's the wind, the rain, or the bright sunshine or the midday sun, they're out and about. Well, we'll tell you who that is as MRCU joins us in the studio. But that's after 1. Until then, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And thanks for joining us. And hopefully Coach Kendall Ebanks will be with us shortly. But now, Coach Floyd Trumpet, he is well-renowned, a son of the TNT favorite son. And making it home, man. If I were to introduce him in the ring, I'd say, in this corner, weighing in at... Those days, Coach Floyd, you can still hear the echo.
Weighing 147 pounds.
The stinger from the TNT. Just to take it back to, not now only wanting to be in the ring as the champion, but the coach, on the outside of the apron, giving that instruction and remembering, hey, this is what we did in training, this is what we trained for. Prepare the mind, the body, and the rest will flow.
That's one of the most important thing in probably any sport is that the coach and the athletes have that mesh, and whatever they train to do, it's done in the actual competition.
Yeah, that's just the finishing of all of the preparation prior. Not a week before, not a month before, sometimes not even a year before. And it's not just technique, as you shared. It's all-encompassing.
In any sport, there are different part of the preparation. There's physical, technical, tactical, psychological, and theoretical. So it's a whole science that come together, mesh as one.
Right. That's, I know, as you shared that, and I'll probably ask you to say it again so that, we can write it down properly.
Physical,
psychological,
technical,
tactical,
and theoretical.
All right. Now, I deliberately wrote it down so that I will remember it. I just need to figure out how I can read my written. But the physical aspect, many of us see that as primary. We see that probably that'll be the only thing we see. We can watch even the individual who isn't going to be involved in any competition. They just want to be physically healthy. Maybe the objective is endurance and stamina. Maybe it is, and I just use it loosely, muscle development. And that could be male or female, young or young at heart alike. But that's the obvious and that's seemingly probably the easiest in a sense. But it's the one that we emphasize without appreciating that the other four are so, if not more so. But as a coach, you tell us, and as a an athlete,
the physical aspect of any preparation, whether it's for competition or it's for health and fitness, is important. So, and most people do stress on the physical part. But once the physical is developed, then the other sections of the puzzle will fall in place. And even in the physical aspect, there's certain things you do before others. So in developing the physical aspects, we always emphasize firstly, or in sports science, emphasize firstly on endurance, then strength, flexibility, coordination, and the last one is speed. So there's still a system how to develop physically.
Endurance, you said, strength.
Endurance, strength, flexibility, coordination, and speed.
You know, and thank you for this. And the reason why I'm asking of it is that too many times we approach things loosely. Maybe a great example would either be a recipe that your grandmother, shared with you, or you found somewhere in a cookbook. I still prefer books over the other things, and you want to try it. But if you don't have a level of preparation, what are the ingredients? How is this going to work? And put aside the time and invest with love into this thing, the commitment. How do you expect it to come out in a way that you would want to enjoy it? And then you do it once, and then you do it twice, and then you do it constantly. I think you shared that it isn't just about, what was that you were talking about when you come into it? You're not just doing this once and done. It's consistent. It's
consistently. And anybody who wants to do something if you want to be an athlete, it's called long-term athletic development. And for people who want to just get fit, then it's a lifelong fitness.
Yeah, lifelong.
And how we take it is it's a long-term decision to get into physical activities.
Lifestyle. So, in listening to physicians and even people in the medical profession, whether they're nutritionists and dietitians or other, they talk about lifestyle. Looking at how we live, our eating habits, our sleeping patterns, whether we're taking time for ourselves. We may call it wellness, or de-stressing. But if we're not making this all encompassing, then we only have one part of the puzzle. So I appreciate your willingness to share. And maybe this is a weekend, sort of the first weekend in this new month. For some, it's a significant month because it's the anniversary of many hurricanes in the past, not least of which Hurricane Ivan. We just came through two, weather systems, as it were. We're seeing this impact not just here in the region, but in neighboring, countries and the like. But it's also that time when our children are now back to school. So it's a transitional sort of time in our minds. Maybe an opportune time for this weekend for us to think about what we want our lives to look like. Maybe instead of waiting for January to take up this new resolve to do something, maybe start today. Start the season with a commitment to health.
Yeah, well, actually, I started a summer camp boxing program with the kids at the Performance Lab, and we had about 18 kids taking part in it. And some of the kids, when they came, they were, as we call it, physically illiterate. Most of them can't do a push-up, can't do a squat, can't do a jumping jack. And at the end of it, after 6 weeks, plus one, we give an extra week actually. And then these same kids who are 8, 10, 12 years old could have done 100 sit-ups with a punching bag on the chest, sharing a punching bag and then full sit-ups.
Yeah. So going from
0 to 100.
And for those who know the punching bag, you may have used the 50 to 75, 100 pound bag, but even if it's just a towel, that itself, holding that, is an added sort of level of resistance. So for he who cannot do 1 can go to 100, but even the person who can do 100 might be able to find that they could do 1,000.
So I always tell them, if I tell the class, okay, let's go down and do your maximum push-up. Some might do 10, some might do 20, some might do 40. But my goal is that who can do the most. After 3 weeks now, if the one who can do 10 can now do 20, you have improved 100%.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm looking for, because your maximum is not my maximum.
No.
What I want is improvement overall.
Yeah. Be the best you can be.
Yes, sir.
And I think I love that you shared that with me. And in preparing for today's discussion, I didn't want it to be just a casual conversation. And it helped me on a personal level, but it helped me to be better positioned to ask. And when you were identifying those 5 areas, you shared them with me before. I made a note. Thank you for letting us deliberately reference it again so that people listening don't just listen and leave, but actively listen and engage. Because if we're not looking at, as you said, physical, psychological, technical, tactical, and right? The one that we probably ignore because it's the one that means that we need to do something. The theoretical.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the recipe that you now following for the first time. You got to figure what the ingredients are, and then
How
until
to
you
use
get
them.
it, you can adapt it to yourself. But if you don't know the theory behind things, many of us know the theory and can't do the practical. Some of us know the practical but never pay attention to the theory. We need to have both, right?
Yes.
From that perspective, though, we see boxing, generally speaking, for some in a particular light. We either love it and understand it's important the importance in terms of how we can apply it to our lives, not just as an exercise. And even with those who may see it as exercise, only see it for the body. But there's, as you shared, there is the mental dexterity, the mental preparation. It's not just about being physically strong.
Yeah, no, of course not. Like this morning, I was training an elderly lady, and she was saying she could go to the gym and do weights and get her shoulders strong. And she said, well, but now the boxing that she's doing have done two things to her. She says she can now train for a longer time because the cardio have improved so much. And now she thinks more because we got to do all combination of attack and defense simultaneously. So her brain now is also thinking and not just there doing pushing her weight.
Right.
She got to think and react to whatever we're doing.
We know from what we've been told or we've read, the research which shows that in order to keep the mind sharp, little things, learning a new skill, a language or an instrument, or engaging in certain sort of games, whether it's a memory game of sorts or playing, checkers or the like dominoes, it keeps you sharp, keeps you socially engaged. But I don't think we appreciate an activity like boxing that it does the same as you shared with this lady.
If people know the benefit of boxing psychologically, what it does for you. I see kids who came to summer camp, came shy, real antisocial. And when they finished, they were all chatting together. After 6 weeks, they were like one big group happy together, doing things together. We've even had solving little puzzles. And all that helps when they start to span out, they start to outthink each other. Who can outthink? Because they couldn't throw a jab, couldn't throw a cross, but now they're doing some light sparring. So it's who can outthink who.
Yeah.
So.
It is unfortunate sometimes that we never appreciate the level of not just camaraderie and socialization, but the bonds that we build through sports. And I'm told, and you correct me, but boxing would be one of the martial arts, so to speak, right? And we see the discipline that it brings to the person, the respect, not just for others, but for self. What is it they say? If you don't love yourself, how can you love others? You have to have that sense of self-respect to show respect to others. As we come back from the break, well, is that something that we fail to emphasize, that through the training, the regimen, the approach, that it develops within you discipline, but respect?
Yes, discipline, respect, everything. Most of everything that comes to do with living as a good human being, boxing develops that.
Yeah, man. And then this obviously transfers easily into other sports.
Yes.
But also into
life.
Into life. Maybe we chat about that and you can tell us some of the things that are happening over there at Performance Lab.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, Coach Floyd, I always enjoy this company, and anybody that can help us to be better, we draw alongside them. The phone line is going to be open if you want to call and share your thought, ask a question, and appreciate that investment in our health is in fact an investment in our quality of life. It helps us to be stronger mentally, but physically and socially as well. All right, we're going to pause and take the short break. When we come back, please rejoin us for more talk today.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
Freedom, Kim and Brack. freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Twenty years.
Remember when Crew Road had no median and Linford Pearson was only 2 lanes?
We do.
When Dirty Reeds was down the street?
We do.
We have been there for the falls, the growth, and the rise. When your body and mind needed to change, Powerhouse Gym has been here. We've skated with you. Your first date, your daughter's first time on skates, your son's first strike. From football to squash, to karate and hockey, to bowling and concerts, and everything in between.
For 20 years,
so much has changed, some for the good and some not so much. Through it all, King Sports Center has been here for you, for Cayman.
King Sports Center, celebrating 20 years as Cayman's home for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
The hurricane season is not over yet. It's important to stay vigilant. Check your emergency kit to make sure it's fully stocked with critical items such as a 5-day water supply. That's 1 gallon of water per person per day. Stock extra water for persons with special needs such as nursing mothers, children, and people with illness. And don't forget to stock water for your pets. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Newlands and Savannah residents are invited to a free health screening and vaccination drive at the community office of the Honorable Premier, Mr. Wayne Panton, Monday, September 6th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., number 8, Homestead Crescent behind Wendy's. The Health Services Authority will be providing health screenings including blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, and COVID-19 vaccines. Children 12 to 17 require a parent or guardian to receive the vaccine. No appointments are necessary. However, Newlands and Savannah residents are encouraged to arrive early, Monday, September 6th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the community office of Mr. Wayne Panton. Community creates country.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to Coach Floyd Trumpet for joining us as we talk about, not just the importance of health and wellness, the almost absolute necessity to include in our lives activity, physical activity, consistently done in a way that is instructive. I mean, many of us can do things, even we're told, we're moving boxes because we just moved into a new place. The way we lift things, if we don't, do it properly, we could injure ourselves right then and there or down the road. Not because the box is exceptionally heavy, but just because our movement in trying to lift that box or push it or pull it or whatever it is hurts us if we don't know. Same with exercise, right? Mm-hmm. Having a proper instructor, technique to say, is important. Your offer to the public in terms of what is available and the importance of it should be easily understood by many of us. But for some of us, we either say, "Boy, I don't have time for that. I got so much commitments," and many of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
So timing is an excuse we all justifiably in our minds anyway can use. When is the availability? So
well, at the Performance Lab, we have programs throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Different programs we have in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. At 6 o'clock, we have Boxing 101 with me. That's where adults come to learn to box. Mm-hmm. Not really sparring, but learning fundamentals of boxing, all the preparation that goes involved into making a boxer. Mm-hmm. We have at 10 o'clock, we have something called Lab Fit. And sometimes we have row fit on Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Mm-hmm. That's row machines, and incorporate some other exercises along with it. Mm-hmm. We have on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday mornings at 12 midday actually. Mm-hmm. Tuesday, Thursday and Saturdays we have Muay Thai. Mm-hmm. That's the Thai boxing, type kickboxing styles. Mm-hmm. On evenings we have At 5:30, we have some Monday, Wednesday, we have core fit. That's exercising, yes, but with lots of emphasis on the abdominal areas and the back also. On Tuesday and Thursday, we have HIIT training, as we all know, high intensity interval training. And on Saturday, which is our biggest class, we have Saturday morning at 8:30, call it Weekend Warrior. That's when everyone comes in. We have all the coaches in the gym working together as one, and all the people there working different stations, and it's one big, nice 1 hour plus of hardcore exercise. And our last program we recently started was our after-school program for boxing at 3:30 until 4:45 for the kids. So everyone is a part of it, and all can become a part of the family at the gym at Performance Lab.
If I can, and for me, I hopefully he'll take up the invite to come on, because I think as we look at the investment in our health, it's twofold. Makes us better as individuals. We're healthy. That translates into us having a better quality of life. This is my perspective. So as a professional athlete, as a trained coach, with all of your credentials, if I'm saying it incorrectly or you're exaggerating publicly, you guide me, right? But as an individual, we can see the benefit to us, the quality of life, our outlook, our perspective, our contribution, our productivity. It's all there because we're healthy in mind, spirit, body, soul, the whole 9 yards, as it were. But it also translates into lower costs to us in terms of potentially some sort of need to go to the physician for some procedure or some treatment, medication, or otherwise. Doesn't mean it does, won't happen, but potentially reduces it. And then collectively as a society that is invested in this health and well-being of its people, will see increased productivity, increased quality and standard of living, and again, lower healthcare costs, from what we understand from studies. So in this perspective then, right, as I was chatting with an individual, we see approaches to different exercises. Some like this sort of thing, some would prefer doing it this way, swimming, cycling, for instance, running. Some would like things. But what you were sharing, and like the fine gentleman I was speaking to earlier, hopefully, like I said, I'll extend a similar invitation to come and talk about it. You have a variety of things so that maybe the monotony. I don't want to use that word, but if someone plays the same sport all the time, unless it's football, that's the only sport you can play all the time, but that has all the movements in it, right?
And boxing.
You jumped the queue, man. I was going to ask you, from the little that I know and from the little that I've experienced over the last 1,000 years, boxing seems to be that one activity, is what I'll use, that allows you to develop so much skill that you can take that and apply it to any sport. You get the strength and the endurance, you get the stamina, you get the mental part, the agility, and you're doing all of these things so that if you were playing football, for instance, the act of a game of football, even the goalkeeper, who we may see as the person sort of fixed within that 18-yard box, we don't see how much
you gotta work hard.
You gotta work really hard. And to the striker, unless you're like the Lee Ramon that can just stay on center and score all the goals from anywhere, right? Even the striker has to move up and down, right?
But you gotta be fit to play the role.
Yeah, right. But boxing gives that to you, the movement back and forth.
See, everyone now just jump on this bandwagon, HIIT training. And where did the idea really come from? If you look at it, it's boxing. Boxing have always been training that way. We can work for 3 minutes, rest for 1 minute. Work for 3 minutes, rest 1 minute. And that is the system what HIIT training is based on. They work hard for a certain time and they rest for a time, or they work hard and then they work less hard for a time.
Right.
So boxing has that aspect of it that translate to all any other sport also.
Yeah.
Any other sport. Like I tell people, anyone can punch. Because you punch in karate, you punch in taekwondo. But the footwork in boxing is what makes boxing. And if you get good footwork in boxing, you can play good basketball, you can play good cricket. If you look at an on drive and a jab, it's basically the same movement. If you look at a cover drive and a cross, same body movement. If you look at slipping a jab or slipping a cross, slipping a bouncer that coming from a pace bowler, same movements. And I think, if I'm not wrong, I think that Viv Richards, West Indies great cricketer, I think he practiced boxing because he never used a helmet in playing cricket.
Yeah, what was it? I think I heard him was saying that he thought that would affect his peripheral vision, but because of his agility from the boxing, he felt comfortable that he could step the move.
He could be comfortable, yes.
Yeah. But again, that confidence came because of his preparation, his training, and it probably the greatest cricketer ever.
So he used what we call in sports science, he used an assist sport. He used boxing as an assist sport to help him in cricket.
Yeah. His core, his bread and butter, but he saw the benefits of it.
Yes.
And I think I go back to what I believe I heard, paraphrasing what Muhammad Ali talked about, in his boxing training. He also used other things. He wasn't, presumably, not into weightlifting, as it were. But he did a lot of other things.
Cutting trees.
Yeah.
Sledgehammer.
And if you look at the training that you put us through in boxing at times, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Right. But then I come back to where we as a society, so we're the corporate entity, whatever that looks like, and we're working because we have to produce. We want to make more money. We want to get that particular accolade, whatever it is that we're looking for. But as we work, are we having that balance relative to the investment in our health? And then if we don't, potentially, there could be a nil consequence.
Yeah.
Come back into timing, though. I mean, you've given schedule at different times through the different days that are available. But for many of us, well, we can't fight traffic. I got an issue with parking. I got a client meeting. Oh, I get sweaty. I can't go back to work. Oh, I'm too tired.
We also offer one-on-one training, personal training.
Right.
So if you think you can't attend at 6 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, at 5:30 or 6:30, then you can come in and have we'll consult with you and see what's best for you. And if you can't come to one of these, then we advise then you can come and do a one-on-one with one of the coaches,
right,
and you can get the same treatment.
Yeah. For people who may have had a particular insight into something for whatever reason, what I say, he who knows it, right? So if you have done something, now you know you've done it. And you also say, he who feels it knows it, but only until that thing has transpired, that has sort of hit you in the pocket, hit you directly, that you start to take time to appreciate and invest in, to take a corrective approach. But there are many of us who don't, even when that's happened, and even more of us who think, that's not going to happen, that's not necessary. How do we reach them to start to appreciate that this thing, despite knowing that it's going to be better for us, be more productive, it can be financially, cost savings down the road, but it just makes us better. I mean, think back to what you say, in cricket, if you can play it and you can be that much stronger, that much more aware of what is happening, and that much more engaged to enjoy it, so that you get that. I don't think, without question, we would want to do something that would take away that enhanced and enjoyed approach to life. But for many, they won't take it up because time, money.
So most people like to drive a nice car or live in a nice house. So if you have a nice car and you hear a noise in the engine and you turn the volume up on the radio so you don't want to hear the noise no more, what's going to happen? Eventually, you're going to break one day and you're going to have a big bill to pay. But if at the time when you hear that little noise, even before the noise, if you go and take your regular vehicle servicing every 3 months or how much 1,000 miles, the car going to give you 5, 10, 15 minutes of good service. But if you don't keep that maintenance going, eventually engine going to break, something going to happen to it, and you're going to cost you a big repair.
Good analogy, and I think many of us will immediately take that on board. But for some, we probably have been smart enough to mathematically calculate the statistical possibility that that is a 1 in X chance or whatever it is, right? And we're willing to gamble.
Yeah, but I think on a whole, just exercising feels good. No, I'm not telling you that you must come to the lab and train. I'm not telling you must go to the gym and train. If you can just get up in the morning, like we have right now something called Epic 42 that's happening at the lab. It's actually a free program, but it's not done in the lab all the time. But we give you the videos so you can follow at home online, and you do your once in the morning, once in the evening.
Mhm.
And after 42 days, you must see a transformation.
Mhm.
So you don't have to come to a gym or go to a gym. You can get one, go for a jog. So I'm skipping home.
You do it on your time,
Mhm.
but you'll be committed to an outcome.
Yeah.
So for 42 days, how many minutes a day on each session?
45 minutes is our basic program. We use 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Once a day, twice a day?
Twice a day.
So 45 in the morning, 45 in the afternoon. All right. I can see people calculate and go, well, that's so much per year. No, do it each day.
Easy work.
Don't make
Easy
it
work.
All right. Let's pause, Coach Floyd. When we come back, maybe share with us some more. And for those who are listening, it's the weekend. It's probably going to be a bit of a rain. I can guarantee one thing. This is the only I guarantee. The sun will come up and the sun will go down.
Always.
That is the only guarantee I can offer you. With the sun setting and rising, what are we doing to make our lives better and contributing to the lives of others? Well, let's see if we can improve ourselves by improving our health. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a non-for-profit member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. Chamber Pension has an all-in expense ratio of 0.72% over 16,000 members, $430 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s. And today, we are still strong, secure, and are here for employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or request further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Drapes. Puritan Cleaners now offering 12% off on drapes pickup and delivery. Unhang and rehang at $9.65 per hour optional. To our hospitality services, let us help you be ready. Before attempting to remove rubber back drapes, please give us a call. Puritan Cleaners, Eastern Avenue 949-7104. Elgin Avenue 949-2452. Savannah Countryside 946-1884. We can make your rooms look good.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And thanks to Coach Floyd Trumpet over the Performance Lab for sharing with us. I'm hoping that as people listen that it isn't intended, at least from my perspective, to do anything other than encourage us to a lifestyle of health and wellness. We look across Cayman society, from our employers, whether public or private sector, trying to do something to encourage it, at least on paper. We see many of us as employees and managers and trying to lead by example in terms of making a very concerted, careful, consistent approach to being healthy. Mind, body, spirit, soul, and everything else. But sometimes it's a lot of talk. We're really not invested as we say we are. At least it would appear that from a quick little survey I did again, part of our preparation. So we sit to a handful of people and say, okay, I know your entity has this because we see the PR all the time. Unofficially, I'm calling you and a handful of others. How much uptake do you have? Some said, oh man, all the staff takes advantage of the offer of the employer subsidized discount or whatever it is. But without any sort of, careful analysis, the perception is anyway that, they take it up, but they don't go and use the benefit. So they pay for the gym membership, but they don't go to the gym. So how do we get that conversion? You know what? You take advantage of it if you can, and you put it to your good use. We don't have the initiative. We're not making the conversion. What is it? What's it going to take?
I think what they should do to really have the employees bond instead of going one on one, them go as a group. We had a group of ladies came, I can't remember offhand what company came from, but they came, 4 of them came together. Yeah. And then they brought 2 more. And that was only for a special program we had called Trident. And now that program is done, and they have stayed into the gym, and they have now enrolled fully in the gym, and they still come together as a group from.
Okay, can I ask? And I recognize that this is a perception shaped by travel and experience in other places, heavily informed by people from other jurisdictions as to how we approach different things, including exercise. It seems that in Cayman, everything has a significant price tag attached to it, no matter what that is, right? And there are many things that will not be as much of a priority if we're looking at having a tight budget. So just like our food choices, healthy option versus the not so healthy, which one can we afford? The discretionary income that we would say we would have, or even the fact that we don't have sufficient disposable income. But exercise and exercise programs at organized facilities, we call them gyms, right, tend to be perceived as being very costly. Now, your example aside, relative to the car and maintenance, but for some people, they're like, you know what? That's why I drive a jalopy. That's why I walk, or they can afford what they can afford. They can't afford nothing else, right? How do we make, if possible, those things more accessible, or how do we as a person prioritize that? You know what? This expense that we incur for this thing maybe should not rank above our health in terms of our exercise efforts.
You see, most people think of exercise as this fancy stuff that you must go to a gym to do.
Okay.
It's good to go to a gym to get certain results if you want to get results. But if you can't afford a gym, you can walk. For example, a normal squat. What is that exactly? Is it an exercise or is it a movement?
Okay.
It's really a movement.
Right, yeah.
And if we can squat at home, 10 free squats.
Yeah.
On your own. You don't need no barbell, no dumbbell, no kettlebell, nothing.
Okay. But and I want you to explain that because that's important. But I'm immediately thinking, okay, I can do a squat, hopefully. But what if I don't know how to do it properly? So in the minute I've done 3 squats, or in a minute I've done 100 squats. But if those 3, I should be able to do more 3 in a minute, those 3 were carefully controlled and very slow and go deep, again properly, and moving the body up, I may get more out of it if I do it properly.
If I do it properly.
Than if I do the 100.
So in sport, if I can recall, the main action you want is
so sort of resistance,
run, throw, and squat, I think.
Yeah.
Right? What I can't remember exactly. But okay, so you want a specific result. So if I'm home now and I say, you know what, I want to be able to squat 100 pounds. I'm going to squat 3 squats at home first. And then I realize I can make it. Like anything in life, it's like education. You can read all the books you want at home and become wise. But if you don't go to a school and get your paper, diploma, nobody's going to study you. So therefore, now we can go to a gym and say, you know what, I want to come to learn to exercise properly. And you will see for yourself if the investment is worth it. Same as education. I can stay home and read any book now. I want to do cycles, I can read any books and learn it. But if I don't go to school and learn it and follow protocols and get my certificate, then no one takes me on.
Right. But even with that, as we sort of close our discussion, two immediate things jump to mind. One is, if we're doing something on our own without careful instruction, or we could develop bad habits, bad form, technique, and just doing it and getting some benefit, but not realizing that long term, it's not the best thing. So we have to
just walk.
Just walk.
If you have nothing to do, just walk. I mean, if you get to most time people go to the doctor and they're overweight, he never tell them to run.
No, start walking.
Tell them to walk.
You crawl for your walk.
Tell them to walk.
So with that, then there are those of us, for whatever reason, maybe we don't happy with how we perceive ourselves. Maybe we feel embarrassed because we can't do that one push-up. We struggle with whatever the issue is, right? And I'm not going to get into self-image and the like. We're just very conscious that we're, not that well as we want to be. For them, though, starting at home, getting them to a place where they feel a little bit more self-love, then transition into a structured program.
Listen to me. At the Performance Lab, we push love, care, attention. So if you come to the Performance Lab, whatever, just come. Come in, talk to us. We'll give you a consultation. We'll deal with you. And we'll work something out for you and get you where you want to be.
All right. Where are you? I mean, we come there. How do you find you?
We're at 68 Mary Street. Just come to the back. You'll see us. Look up us on Instagram, Facebook. And we're there. And you can shoot a message from right there. And we'll get back onto you. And we will call you in to do a consultation. And from there, we get to work.
All right.
If you want one-on-one, you want to do kickboxing, boxing, hit training, weight training, we make one specially for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm hopeful that as a society, we start to appreciate as much as we see. And there are many people who encourage, their employers, their employees, the wider society to look at it as an investment in our health and well-being. There are many who, by example, demonstrate the importance of doing it. And there are some who say, listen, I've done this all my life. What do you think at 100 years old, still active? And then there are some who said, you know what, I've only been doing this for the last 10 years and at 100 now. Look at the improvements. So it's never too late to start. The investment will pay lifetime dividends. But
it's never too late, and we got great coaches who have different skills. We have Kendall, we have Nick, we have Adam, we have Rory, we have Andrea, and all of us have a different style and give you a different training routine. So you won't come every day and get the same thing every day. You're always going to mix and match with each coach different style.
So even though if you were to say come 5 or 6 days of the week, that Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, it may or may not be the same coach, or it'll be
even though if you come to my class with Box 101, it still wouldn't be the same thing.
Right.
You can get a different kind of session every day.
Well, you know what? I know, like you, like many, there is the notion that if we invest in it, we'll see the immediate and incredible return. But it takes the first step, right?
Yes, that's the most important thing.
Well, so we can, and I'm hopeful that in that, as we are busy doing whatever it is we're doing in order to finish out the week and prepare for the next, that we'll consider the investment in our health. Start by walking, maybe walk down to you, Coach Lloyd. Well, thanks very much for your time. If you wish, any quick final sort of encouraging
just want to
words?
say that people who are interested in boxing, that we, especially the kids, we have this nice program for the after school program for the kids. Come and check it out.
3:30 to 4:45.
3:30 to 4:45.
Good time for parents to drop the children to school, pick them up after work.
And with that also, I want to say that we'll be the first gym that will be applying to the Boxing Association for membership. So it'll be the first gym outside of the Boxing Association to apply to the Boxing Association as full members. So soon we'll be full members of SIBA.
Yeah, man. It really translates into making it well for all of us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Through your actions and your words, you encourage us to consider the importance of our wealth being our health.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Always
Coach Floyd Trumpet, man. Well, Coach Kendall, we missed you, but hopefully we'll catch up with you when we do. All right, to our listeners, after the headline news, we're hopeful that we were successful in arranging good folks from MRCU to join us. If that is possible, we'll have that discussion. If it isn't, we're going to talk about something. I won't sing, but I'll certainly listen. Stay tuned. We'll talk today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news. The Department of Vehicle and Driver's Licensing, DVDL, is requesting that members of the public who have lost or found license plates during the recent storm to contact them at 945-8344. For more information on DVDL, visit their website at www.dvdl.gov.ky. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines in news elsewhere. Storm Ida has unleashed flash flooding and tornadoes across the northeast of the United States, killing dozens and causing devastation in a number of states. New York City and New Jersey have been hit by unprecedented levels of rainfall, with residents left trapped in flooded basements and cars. Tornadoes spawned by the storm ripped off roofs and sent debris thousands of feet into the air. Satellite images taken on Thursday showed large areas of New Jersey submerged, with businesses and homes devastated by floodwater. And a teenage boxer has died 5 days after being knocked out in a professional fight. 18-year-old Mexican welterweight Jeanette Zacarias Zapata was knocked down in the fourth round against Marie-Pierre Hullo at the GVM Gala International in Montreal on Saturday. She appeared to have a seizure after being dazed by a left uppercut and a right hook and was taken to hospital immediately after. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks so much for joining us. And if you would, you can call me. But if you allow me to sort of extend a general invitation, sort of pick up on what Coach Floyd shared earlier, that let's invest in our health and well-being. Maybe it's an exercise by walking. You may prefer to do it by yourself. There are some of us who do. I fully respect and appreciate that. There are some of us who understand that one other person or a group of us exercising together, a group swim, a group run, a group cycle, a group walk, or some sort of group fitness really is very, very helpful. The accountability, the camaraderie, the sense that you're together, and so you have this partner that encourages. And I can honestly share that there are many of us who struggle to do that one push-up or that one squat or run from one end of the room to the next, even if you're racing to the kitchen to get, the next piece of hot chocolate cake to just out. But recognizing that in short order, we will get to a space where we can do a lot more than we realize that we could do or that we used to do. So, invest in our health. There is a financial cost of buying and doing and paying. We also appreciate that there is a cost of not doing, the productivity that is lost, the increased healthcare that's incurred, understandably so. Now we're hopeful that our good friends relative to muscular control would be able to join us if possible. We keep the door open, literally. We'll keep it open, and if that materializes, we'll have that. We are also conscious that they have made a concerted effort over the many years, and simple things that are significant in execution, that they remind us. There are rains, as we walk around our yards to look at our plants and check things. Are there things that water potentially is collecting? And, we see more mosquitoes around, or if you let me say it, as I tell my friend, it's mosquitoes around your yard, not the mozzies and not the mosquitoes, but the mosquitoes around your yard. Rebecca reminds me that it's a mosquito. Maybe walk around and there's a coconut shell that is there. Maybe it's a plant pot. Maybe there's something where water is able to collect, and it doesn't take much. Maybe that's something that we pay attention to and keep it overturned. Perhaps it's other things that are there that is part of our overall landscaping aesthetic. But then having them with their concerted effort relative to the control and eradication, makes it healthy. We are sometimes not so much in a jovial approach, but a comment that it could be, blowing a nice kite breeze outside and the mosquitoes are just laughing and enjoying the ride of the wind. It could be the broiling midday sun. They seem to be still active. So not just before the sun comes up or after it sets that they experiencing a lot of mosquitoes, and they know sort of a nuisance and inconvenience, the potential ill effects on their health because of the potential disease carrying capacity. Well, if they join us, we'll have that discussion to see where we are. But in the meantime, I can't believe it's Friday already. I can't believe that the month of August has ended and September is in full swing. Next weekend, according to the calendar, would have been, when Hurricane Ivan would have passed through. We see, the ravages of Ida going through and creating havoc. We saw how, maybe on the heels, as it were, of Greece, how many of us were already at a heightened sense of fear and anxiety and the like, made even a greater concerted effort in our preparations. Now, with that in mind, let's ask the question, where do we feel we are in terms of our preparations, our psychological and mental and, and the like well-being, given what we've been experiencing probably the last year and a half? Do we feel that we are, rooted and grounded and well positioned, mentally, physical, spiritual, and financially to, no pun intended, weather the next storm, or whether it is a disaster caused by a hurricane or some other, event, God forbid it, it could be devastating. Now, in that preparation, is our mindset? We all recognize that if we're anxious and apprehensive, if we're filled with fear and trepidation, we may not necessarily think as clearly as we would normally. Maybe we would not respond as we would normally from that informed, civilized, very, very conscious approach. It may be very knee-jerk. It may be very much, in anger and inflamed, and, that notion of fight or flight kicking in. Now, if it is as, the psychologists and the like share, that sometimes when you are in that state of fear, you're more easily influenced by a very, very persuasive voice. If that is the case, what can we do to make sure that we are not being led, if you forget the phrase, like sheep to slaughter? Now, are we able to draw alongside each other and let whatever strength that we may have complement, our neighbors? As Mr. O.C. reminds us, we are our brother's keeper, and that may extend to doing much. We look at the opportunities within our society to be part of our church groups, or PTAs, or other, civic and social organizations, from the service clubs to the very well-trained, resource and structured entities like the community emergency or response teams, the professionalism and diligence of the staffing at HMCI and the Red Cross, for instance, providing invaluable training, leveraging the resource that is already within our communities, to the idea that through something like the CERT program, we're becoming stronger as communities, improving the neighborhood watch, as it were, because we now have a better understanding of who our neighbors are. We, again, become acquainted with our communities. We know that within the community, down the street is someone who is either an educator or a physician, someone who's an electrician or a carpenter, someone who's an avid gardener, someone who has a particular, not just a skill, but an experience in something else, either through travel and otherwise. So as we become more familiar with each other, we grow as a community by forming stronger bonds. And then this person is no longer just a neighbor across the street. They're a friend. We develop a bond. We put a name to a face, and we share our common existence and our experience. And as a result, we include our expertise, and it may not be the preparation for a natural disaster. Example, an impending weather system like a hurricane or tropical storm, or we have to deal with the aftermath of its passage. But we are now very, very much comfortable in sharing with our neighbors, seeing that the neighbor is going to be, doing something in the yard, maybe planting some new trees, or replanting trees, especially now that we've lost so much vegetation. But it may be that you're going to be doing something and that neighbor either has that skill set, has that particular resource, including the tools and equipment, or may know someone. But as we, again, become acquainted with each other, that is where the bond and the strength of that community comes. We've often heard, and sadly is said by politicians across the globe, and nothing more than just words coming from lips without any sort of conscious heart behind it. Oh, it takes a village to raise a child. But are we an active, informed, engaged part of that village? When we come home in the evenings, we're exhausted. We're probably only too glad to retreat to the solitude and sort of a sanctuary that's become our homes. And then we leave very early in the day, maybe because we have a long work, commitments ahead. Maybe we want to beat the traffic, get a favorite parking space. All justifiable reasons. But one day becomes a month, there's a year, and then there's a decade later, and the new neighbor who's been there is still that stranger as the day the neighbor moved in. As much our fault as it is the neighbor's, but if the invitation isn't extended or accepted, how do we grow? Come back to the training initiatives that we see in the corporate setting of the team building, to the icebreakers that we may employ in new groups. That first day of school, where the teachers very much try to get each child to become increasingly comfortable in a new setting, may employ different strategies, and by the end of the week and the end of the first school month and the first school term and the first school year, some of these people have become lifelong friends. Corporate entities do the same with their team building exercises. Well, organize approaches to community safety and response through something like the CERT program will do likewise and even more. Well, share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255 or 1-800-534-TALK, 1-800-534-8255. It's a Flow toll-free line. There's also the WhatsApp, 925-3261. And the more we speak about things, the more we speak, and hopefully in a respectful, responsible manner, and the more we engage and respond likewise, perhaps the better we are as individuals, but the better equally, and perhaps some would say more so, we are as a community, because the collective voice and the sort of leverage strength of each one then lends a greater sense of developing a stronger bond. All right, we're going to pause, take a very short break, invite you to share your thoughts with us. And if it's raining where you are, well, if you're like me and my good friend earlier, if your hair gets wet, hey, just be thankful. Yeah, it's good rain water. But if you can stay dry, so much the better. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Darby Bernard Tibbetts, MBE. Bernard Tibbetts has spent his life serving the people of Kimmerbrak. In his youth, he communicated with the island's ships by radio telephone, keeping seamen in touch with their families, and was transferred to Cable and Wireless when it took over telecommunications in the Cayman Islands. In his 45 years working in communication, he undertook private study, enabling him in his spare time to do photo processing and repair the island's cars, trucks, radios, refrigerators, and air conditioners. He also established a family retail business. He served as president of the Kimmerbrak High School PTA, director of Kimmerbrak Power and Light Company, deacon of Stake Bay Baptist Church, trustee of Little Cayman Baptist Church, and member of the Brack's Hospital Building and Development Committees. In 1983, he was honored by receiving the MBE directly from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Mr. Bernard sings and plays music and has written a number of gospel songs and tracts, as well as a paper about life on Cayman Brac before the modern era.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
So, do you have your tickets?
What tickets?
Your tickets for UCCI's first ever alumni homecoming. They're on sale now.
Hey, I don't want to miss that. When is it?
October 28th. There'll be a dinner gala, silent auction, live entertainment, and more. It's a chance to reconnect with UCCI, past classmates, and those instructors that helped change your life.
Where do I get my tickets?
At Eventpro. They have discounted early bird tickets for only $75 per person, but after September 25th, prices are due to go up.
The alumni homecoming sounds great. I'm going to eventpro.ky right now.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Thank you so much for sharing and just doing the break. Only 3. Sometimes it's none. Sometimes it's so many you can't get to it. So 3 of our listeners have sent messages, information, either sharing certain things or asking questions or even potentially maybe questioning certain things, but all had one thread, and that is the proposed sort of reopening, as it were, as we go back to a semblance of welcoming business to our communities. And I'm gonna try to find where this one came through and want to read it to us, so hopefully I'll get to that in a second. But as we do, the individual share the perspective that we are looking more and more at a scenario that brings us to a space where, as people consider where they are, what is it that they're going to be faced with, what will it look like? As the one individual was of the view that we are looking increasingly at a scenario where potentially many of us will, once the increased numbers of people come to the shores, may take a wait-and-see attitude and not decide to venture out and spend as much as they've been spending in the past, because there is a sense of trepidation, as it were, a sense of anxiety as more and more people potentially come to the shores, and then potentially introduce them to a greater sense of risk. So they'll take a wait and see. Now, as I get the opportunity to read that extended message that was sent, let's do so by initially asking, what is your perspective on it? Now, if you forgive me for having, great confidence in our political leadership, the Honorable Premier and his team through the cabinet, and they're all, and Sunday, their parliamentary secretaries and all, moving forward in a very prudent, safe, conscientious, concerted way to balance the interests of the economy with the concerns of the society, to the growing sort of increased discussion amongst friends and family that could lead to a sense of a divided view. Dissension in itself doesn't have to be a bad thing if it's always offered up in a respectful manner. But what is your view as we open up? Do you think like some, you're going to take a wait-and-see approach? You might consider restricting your outings, whether to the restaurant or the other retail places, including the supermarkets. Are you anticipating, and I use this word most reluctantly, because I don't think that there are words that we should allow to become such, a frequently used part of our vocabulary, a lockdown. If you've ever been in a space where you've experienced such, there are those who served either in the prison as an inmate or as an employee or a volunteer or some other form of a professional, hired consultant to go in. And for whatever reason, you've been subjected to being restricted, locked down in that space for any extended time. So much so that we are familiar with experiments that have occurred in other jurisdictions just to show the impact, where people have, very deliberately, after being carefully assessed, allowed themselves to voluntarily be subjected to a prison-like scenario and to see how their behaviors have changed, not just the conditioning, but their sort of disposition, their attitude, how their psyche, mental, physical, and other, aspects of their lives have been negatively affected. So can you imagine those of us who had, say, pigeons or other birds, would keep them in a cage, and there's after a time, you can open the door and the pigeon will leave, but by a certain time, the pigeon, will come and go right back to roost. You don't need to close the cage again, and then the next morning, the pigeon will leave and come back. Well, maybe it's the same with a level of recidivism amongst our prisoners, and maybe it's compounded by the fact that when they re-emerge from that sentence and attempt to be integrated into society, they're not received with open arms. They find it hard to get employment. They find that healthcare and the like is almost inaccessible. They find that they're not only being ostracized, but they continue to be victimized. And then for some, and if you ask them in the past, they would say, I have a medical issue, from a dental to some other health concern. So they go and steal something, know that they'll get incarcerated, and there in the prison they'll find some meal, they'll find some shelter, and they may as well be subjected to whatever else that comes by being so confined, but they get their health care. Now that may not be the approach of everyone. For those who hear it may say, well, that's not rational. But think about it. How many of us always behave in a rational way? Look at our purchases. We're standing in line, we look over, and we buy something. Maybe we're influenced by some advert or the like, and we buy it only to realize that, why did we buy that? Well, we may conclude it to be impulsive, but it may be that we're influenced and not even conscious of it. So go back to the notion now that as we are thinking, anticipating, and projecting that here's a possibility, I would ask that we don't, become panicked and go and buy and hoard. If we have a high supply of certain things, well, let's think of our neighbors and our families that, because of the financial situation and the employment challenges, could use. If we're buying and doing such, let's keep them in mind in order to be able to share with them. And if we're buying it, let's not do so like we've seen many times where people become very, very aggressive in their purchases. Let's remain civil. But let's also appreciate that just because someone's in a position of authority, political elected or appointed, someone who may be in uniform or the like, we can still be very respectful of the person and increasingly of the office, the position that they hold. But if we have something constructive and respectfully share it, that may help to improve it. If we say it in such a way, and for those who are on the receiving end, try to take it as such. I've always believed that our police officers in particular are, some of the most skilled and certainly most intelligent, because as a police officer, you have to employ almost every conceivable skill set almost instantaneously. The police officer who is now asked, because of a power outage, to direct traffic, got to manage the traffic flow, got to anticipate the behaviors of people, maybe whether it's the aggression of someone, how do you respond to de-escalate the situation? Maybe it's just the nervousness of someone and there's a slight fender bender. How do you ensure that is managed so that the issue is resolved? And then you got to take notes in case a report needs to be filed. Can you imagine the stress and the pressures that are being placed on that individual, right? And it is for us as a people now to appreciate that we work together, recognizing that the pressures of the police officer, like the pressures of the politician, and also we as a people have for many years appreciated that our own actions can help to inform and guide public policy. We live in a beautiful place where just about every single one of us can access in some form or fashion our elected as well as our appointed political leaders, our private sector influencers. And if we continue to work collectively together, appreciating that there are things that our individual actions can have very, very positive outcomes if we continue to be that civilized, responsible, people that we are, then we can move forward. So again, as we start to act, we are familiar with the notion of the self-fulfilling prophecy. So again, as we're talking amongst our friends and family, let's be cognizant that our political leadership is saying, hey, we can get through this, we can do this in a great way. We don't need to revisit the actions of last year and enter into this restricted phase. And when I say, be mindful of words like lockdown, given the studies that we've seen, it isn't said lightly. And whenever things happen in our society, let's ensure that we're thinking of the greater good. Just like we were so deliberate and conscious and willingly following some of the things that we thought, don't really make any sense. We see that the success isn't because we followed a different policy or a different approach. We did, like almost every jurisdiction, we closed the borders, we employed certain measures, we implemented certain protocols, and yet other places seemingly, from what has been reported, did not enjoy the great success that we have. I think that comes down to not just leadership, but it comes down to civility and responsibility on our part as people trying to figure out how we navigate this new chapter in our lives. And if that again transpires, be very conscious that it is not the intent. If anything, it is the absolute deliberate attempt not for it to sort of happen. But again, as we go out and about shopping and the like, let's not panic buy, let's not hoard. We do it storm after storm, and it's probably, we'll say, human behavior. But then when we have this stuff in our houses, are we also very conscious, very respectful of our neighbors, our friends and family, that they may not have, or they may not have a sufficient amount? And so what is it that we grew up with? Share and share alike. Hey, it's got a beautiful place ahead, if we work together. All right, let's find that email if we can and read it when we return. We we'd ask you to rejoin us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Do you have plans to travel to the UK? You must provide a letter of certification from Public Health and your vaccination certificate issued in the Cayman Islands if traveling to the UK via the Bahamas, the United States, Canada, Jamaica, or any other Amber List country. If you are traveling directly to the UK from Cayman, no letter of certification is necessary. Letters of certification may be requested by emailing vaccinecertification@hsa.ky. Travelers must attach a copy of their vaccination card as a screenshot attached to their email request. All requests will take 3 business days to process, and letters will only be issued within 3 weeks of a person's date of travel. Letters of certification are only needed if traveling to the UK via any Amber List country. Travelers to the UK coming directly from the Cayman Islands do not require a letter of certification.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Newlands and Savannah residents are invited to a free health screening and vaccination drive at the community office of the Honorable Premier, Mr. Wayne Panton of Newlands, and Savannah MP, Ms. Heather Bawden, Monday, September 6th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., number 8, Homestead Crescent, behind Wendy's. The Health Services Authority will be providing health screenings, including blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol, and COVID-19 vaccines. Children 12 to 17 require a parent or guardian to receive the vaccine. No appointments are necessary. However, Newlands and Savannah residents are encouraged to arrive early, Monday, September 6th, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the community office of Mr. Wayne Panton and Ms. Heather Bawden. Community creates country.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. And sometimes, as we expected, but hopefully we get it resolved. We're seeing some issues with our, as it is, with our lines and the like. So if you are able, just give us a shout. 949-8037 or 949-6990 might be your better options today to share your thoughts with us. So 949-8037 or 949-6990 works for us as well. Of course, you can WhatsApp 925-3261 and share your thoughts with us as we look for this latest message that came on just then. Let us read it to you now. And put it back up here. And I want to share that thought with a few of our listeners. So this message we transferred is in relation to quarantine and discrimination. I will endeavor to read it as it was written. It says, I'm interested in the government's justification for making non-COVID vaccinated residents quarantine for a minimum of 14 days, but vaccinated residents only 5 days. It says, it is now acknowledged by governments and health boards all over the world, including the US's CDC and Dr. Fauci himself, that vaccinated and non-vaccinated people both transmit and contract the COVID-19 coronavirus at the same rates. It says, in fact, there's growing authority that the viral load in vaccinated of the Delta strain is even worse. Either way, if the goal is to stop transmission, then discriminating quarantine lengths by vaccinated status is not justified. Nor is it justified if it is to stop people contracting the virus. Both vaccinated and non-vaccinated catch and transmit at will. The original strain of COVID is as good as gone. The major concern is Delta/Indian variant, and it's been stated by multiple governments and health agencies in the past month that the Delta variant is getting around the vaccines. I'm not suggesting removing quarantine, just fairness and non-discriminatory practices on Caymanians and residents. If it's 5 days for one, it's 5 days for all. So where are the Human Rights Commission or local civil rights attorneys seeking an injunction placed on the discrimination practices by the government/health authority if they are to continue discriminating between Caymanians and the residents of the country based on vaccinated status? If the goal is to stop transmission and or people contracting the virus. If anything, the vaccinated should be in quarantine longer because they actually display symptoms less than the non-vaccinated. If the goal of quarantining non-vaccinated people longer is to somehow prevent strain on the health services, that doesn't add up either. In fact, and it's not nice to say, but it's becoming evidently true, the best way to prevent strain on the health services is to restrict the obese, the old, and those of us with pre-existing conditions, for instance diabetes, heart conditions, and cancer especially, from coming to Cayman. They are the 90% plus of people, vaccinated or not, that are in trouble should they contract a strong dose of COVID. I'd suggest the government have this wrong and are being poorly advised. Well, I thank you for taking time to share that thought. For those who choose and may want to respond, by all means do so. Let's go to our phones though. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. This is Mamba here. How are you?
Oh, very well, very well. And yourself?
Good, thanks. I thought you might take some time off today, Dwayne, so that you could go to the Grand Court and witness the QCs being inducted.
I used to enjoy going into the court long ago and sitting and watching the proceedings. I used to enjoy it. So even sometimes being on the sort of the periphery in the gallery at the opening day, and certainly occasions like this. And I say this carefully because I know that we are accepting that the world has changed, but the level of security measures these days to get into spaces, I think, is doing a disservice. And this, if you would guide me not only as a strong legal advocate, but a well-researched and informed individual, is very much like our insistence now on gated communities. It somehow prevents us as parents or as interested minds or as those who want to encourage our young people, take them into the community and say, listen, this is a beautiful place. Look at these homes. That person over there, she is the chief medical officer. That person over there, she was this and look where she is. So encouraging through example and illustration that they too could aspire to this. But if the community is gated, you can't get in because some no good 2-bit little thing that washed up on the shore from some apartheid-riddled place comes and brings what that lady said to me this morning, her old dotted nasty ways, and we adopt that. That's going to make it difficult, right? So too with the courts. If you can't come in, and obviously proper dress code and decorum and the like is expected, but if you can't see how the judge conducts and commands the court proceedings, how the attorneys on both sides, how the jury is seated and attentive, and how the court bailiff and the reporters and everything, so that you too can say, wow, I could be this, I could be part of this thing. But if you're put off by it and you're treated like you're a criminal in a strip search, who's going to want to go in there? Which teacher's going to want to take their student class in there?
Yeah, you see, those issues, Wayne, are very, very important. I mean, you talk about the first thing that you talked about, the community.
Right.
I grew up pretty much the way a lot of people in Cayman would have grown up, where the community is not gated. You know the next door neighbor. Sometimes people will just tell you, hey, look, we are going off to such and such a place. Just keep an eye on my door there, or something like that.
Right.
And that's the way I grew up. let me just mention one small thing to you, Dwayne. I play a little bit of guitar. I play normally 2 chords. On a good day, I could get a 3rd chord.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. But the way I learned to play the guitar, I have never gone to one single guitar lesson. Never.
Okay.
I learned it more like the next door neighbor has got a guitar, because I never owned a guitar until I went to England when I was 24 years old.
See that?
Otherwise, I never owned a guitar, but I learned to play reasonably well. Not to become professional, but just enough for my own enjoyment.
Right.
And I learned it like the next door big brother says, "Oh, this is D, this is C," and then I strum it a little bit, and then next time I learn something from somebody else. By the time I was about 16 or 17, we were offering at our high school to play some little song at the end of the school term.
Okay.
And that's the way the society was now. Things always do change, but I think what we should try to do from time to time is try to remember how it used to be then and see how much of that we can recreate in a modern society, because there's a lot of good things there. I mean, things can never be exactly the same. But really, I think it is very good to try and see what we can learn from those. The other thing about going to court, when I was training as a lawyer, you were told, you know what, the way you are going to learn to do this, we will take you to class, you will learn the principles, and then you will learn the procedures, but the only way you will really become good at it is to observe the masters at work, So it was a big deal, like every time when we were in the office in the morning, like if there was nothing really to do, we would go to court because it was just across the street. And we would go there and sit down and watch the cross-examinations and so on. And then later on, if one of the people appearing in court was from our chambers, they would tell us, well, did you understand what was going on here and there? So that was very good. But also, as you say, not just for trainee lawyers, but also people in the society in general. Because in every society, the more that anybody in any profession understands of another profession, so much better for the society and for themselves. Imagine, for example, with law. Everybody in society needs to be a lawyer, because whatever you do in life, one day you will have a legal problem. They deny you a license, or your neighbor collapses a tree on you, and so on. So the more you know of things where you are not a professional, the better really you are. Now, while we are on the law, the QCs who are being inducted, I just think that there's a certain bit of irony today, and that's why I thought I should call, particularly at this time. You see, the Chief Justice did say he takes very seriously the induction of Queen's Counsel and the participation of judges, and the whole idea that justice is very important and so on. But then for me, I know that by and large there is a good judicial system in the Cayman Islands, but I think there are still a lot of things that remain to be done. And the only way in which sometimes we bring these to light is to talk about our own cases. You have been kind enough and to allow me occasionally to say something about my own matter, but again, without mentioning names, I will tell you that a lot of people do not know that this matter that I've been suing a judge, no names, it has been going on for 7 years. 7 years. I first filed the writ in 2014. In 2015, there was a hearing, and then it was supposed to have a judgment in the first week of 2016. And we are in 2021, Dwayne. It is just going back and forth, the Court of Appeal back and forth without a conclusion. Finally, I got a judgment on the 28th, a draft judgment. And normally after you get your draft judgment, the actual judgment comes within, just the procedure. Within 72 hours, you are supposed to respond to the judgment to say, we've read the judgment, and these are the typographical errors. It's not for you to argue anything. That is the judgment, just for you to correct some issues.
Right.
You are supposed to do that within 72 hours, and then after that, once the typos are done, and then it is issued. I have been waiting for mine for 5 weeks and 2 days now. It hasn't come. Okay? 5 days and 2 weeks I've been waiting. And because it's such a controversial case, I have also taken measures. I've complained against a second judge to the governor. I wrote to the governor on the 10th of August. This is more than 3 weeks. He hasn't responded. Also, I have complained to the police about the judge. I've got all my documentary evidence. Basically, the commissioner of police doesn't want to take up the investigation despite the fact that I've given all my facts. So I think to myself and I say, and these people are going to the Grand Court today to talk about how they care about justice and how they take everything seriously. And yet you've got cases such as mine, and there are numerous cases within the community. I only give mine because that's the one I can safely speak about. The other ones I'm aware of, I've got no authority to talk about them. And so I really think that there is need to, as we try to improve the judicial system, there is need to go out there and challenge these people who are being given QC sheets and this and that and say, look at these other cases that are taking place in society. You are not behaving the way you are supposed to be behaving, and this is the problem. You remember last time when there was this, I think it was Katina Anglin's judicial review, there was a problem. People wanted copies of the proceedings, and it was said, well, it couldn't be given out. And then later on, the judge said, well, I didn't make an order to prevent the papers from being given out. The staff said, well, but it is the judge who did that. That shouldn't happen because it brings the administration of justice into disrepute. And I think that there's need for a lot of reform on the judicial side. And that is something I think we should continue challenging the government on.
Right. But something that I think we've heard, and guide us with this as we go into the break, that we often hear that one of the tenets is justice delayed is justice denied. It sounds good, but it seems to be something that is salient, but yet we're seemingly willing to ignore.
Yes, you see, well, it's the old cliche, old Shakespeare's cliche about more honored in the breach than in the observance. You see, and it's interesting you should say that as you go to break. A judgment in the Crown Court is supposed to be given within 2 to 3 months. If at the end of 3 months you don't give a judgment, you should report to the Chief Justice why you can't do that. And how long did I wait for mine? I waited for mine initially for 3 years and 6 months, and even after that it went to the Court of Appeal. It wasn't properly decided, and it's still going on until now. That is wrong. I think we should do something about that.
Well, maybe these discussions may offend some of us in our sensibilities, but maybe it may cause us to be able to respect, maybe not necessarily correct historical record, but prevent similar things from transpiring in the future, so that if it was to affect us directly, that we don't have to be subjected to the same sort of delays. I don't want to use the word miscarriage, but maybe this would be a positive outcome. Maybe not for you, but maybe for the future. So thank you for your perseverance, your diligence, and hopefully there'll be a positive outcome very shortly.
Thank you.
All right. To our listeners, respectfully, let us pause shortly, and then we'll come back and rejoin us. Thanks to that caller for his constant contribution. Always insightful. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Bro, do you really have to eat 2 sandwiches for lunch?
No, but one is for dinner. On Tuesdays at Subway, you can get the 2 subs for any size, plus a fountain drink for the price of 1.
Nah, Bobo, that sounds too good to be true. For real though, 2 subs for the price of 1 and a drink?
Each and every Tuesday now until September 28th. Buy any Subway sandwich in any size and a 32-ounce fountain drink and get an equal or lesser value sub for free. For every 2 for Tuesday purchase, be entered to win one of 3 LG 50-inch 4K smart TVs, a Grill Pro, or one of 2 retro bikes, plus many more prizes. Subway's 2 for Tuesdays is in partnership with Pepsi and Progressive Distributors. Prize drawing is September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. See in store for details.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
We think it's time you crossed over to a new vehicle. And with the 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross now at Vamp Motors, you have plenty of reasons to make the switch. The crossover body and hybrid engine is a sleek design in a sturdy structure with a spacious interior that opens to extensive cargo space. Stuck in traffic? The high-performance self-charging hybrid system automatically switches between gas and electric vehicle mode, helping you lower both fuel costs and carbon emissions. The Corolla Cross has full LED lighting inside and out, an integrated display audio system with energy monitor, and a dual-zone climate control system to ensure comfort for all. Test drive the new 2021 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid today at Vamp Motors, Walkers Road.
Hello, Cayman. This is your Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Mariah Tibbetts. Join me and our 9 lovely contestants at this year's pageant on Saturday, September 11th at the Westin Hotel. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the show starts at 7 p.m. The tickets are available at Funky Tangs and Sand Angels. A huge thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Ministry of Tourism, Radio Cayman, Compass Media, and Cayman Airways. The journey to the crown continues.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to call us 949-89. What's it for, Miss Susan? 949-837? 949-6990. Yeah, sometimes, you have a teacher in the class just do something catch your attention, or sometimes you just, what's this? The Honorable Premier reminds us we're human, so we're prone to misstep. Well, let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Oh, not there. Well, let's read on this message. I'm so grateful for the invaluable resource that is within, our civil service. And here is information that came out on the 26th of July this year, and it was effective sort of a few days early on the 23rd, expanding the list of countries from which secure evidence of vaccination would be accepted. And it reads, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, in partnership with the government's Computer Services Department, developed technological solutions which enable the scanning of QR codes to securely verify vaccination records from some issuers in North America, the European Union, and others. The QR codes are electronic data similar to a barcode, which can be displayed on a smartphone or represent a physical paper copy. The verification solution has been approved by the Medical Officer of Health to ensure that all records can achieve the secure verification standard required for a reduced quarantine of 5 days when entering the Cayman Islands. The process ensures the security of personal information, confirms the secure digital signature from a trusted authority, and minimizes the risk of fraud. The expanded list of systems and countries from which vaccination records can be securely verified now includes issuers who are who are smart health cards and are part of the Common Trust Network. This will include North American issuers such as a Walmart Pharmacy, Sam's Club Pharmacy, State of California, State of Louisiana, the UC San Diego Health, CVS Health, UC Health, and then vaccination records from the European Union member states and other countries that meet the EU digital COVID certificate standards. The Cayman Islands government anticipates that the approved list will continue to grow as other vaccination issuers develop ways to produce securely verifiable vaccination records. Since the 23rd of June 2021, the Cayman Islands government has been able to securely verify vaccination certificates issued by the Cayman Islands Health Services Authority, that is our own HSA, and vaccination records from the UK's NHS app, or an official National Health Service certificate of vaccination. Minister for Health, Honorable Sabrina Turner, had this to say. She shared, "I am extraordinarily proud of the implementation of this new solution to securely verify international vaccination records. The Cayman Islands government continues to put the health and safety of our community first as we make the necessary provisions to reopen our borders. I thank the Civil Service and the HSA for their ongoing hard work to protect our people. The public is reminded that travelers are considered fully vaccinated if they have received a full course of an approved vaccination at least 14 days prior to their travel date. If the vaccination records meet the criteria for being securely verifiable, the traveler is only required to quarantine for 5 days. Once all members of the quarantine group have also securely verifiable vaccination records. And that was issued back in July this year. So it is, I think, comes down to us as people working in tandem, responsibly, respectfully, as we know we can, as we've exhibited over the years in a response to many things, but even just now, in the last year and a half, how we've collectively made a concerted and consistent effort to look after our health and well-being. So the leadership aside, and the continued cooperation of all and sundry alike will contribute to us as a people being able to very, effectively respond, and understandably so. If we harbor a sense of fear and trepidation, well, there would probably be those who say, well, that's not uncommon. Perhaps the invitation now is to see how we can help to allay each other's concerns by working collectively together, ensuring that we have access to timely, accurate, and informed information, and doing our own due diligence. What is it that we're told? Trust but verify. Glad to be a part of this community, and very mindful that many people don't always hear when they're listening. Some people don't listen and believe that they heard something. But together, we make it better. Now, 949-6990, 949-8037 may be your options. And we do recognize from a handful of our callers who have sent independent messages that sometimes there's an intermittent problem with accessing the toll-free line, and that's unfortunate. But we are very diligent in trying to be responsive. So either WhatsApp or call. You can WhatsApp 925-3261, or you can call us on any of these options, 949-6990, 949-6990, or 949-8037, and share your thoughts with us so that we can together engage in some meaningful dialogue and banter. It is one thing that we don't shy away from opportunities that democracies provide to engage and exchange information. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. Thank you for calling.
Democracy. Yeah. I heard one shut me up.
Not at all. How are you?
I am very well.
Mm-hmm. It's a challenging day sometimes. Huh?
I just wanted to have a confession from you, or a reassurance that none like that. So I get the none like that. So I'm going.
Not a thing so. All right. Well, you enjoy your weekend. All right. Blessings to you.
I'll try.
Thank you very much. We are reminded sometimes that the only way to truly test something is to taste it. To really know is to, verify. And there are many who would share that, not only do they need confirmation, they need sort of a second opinion. And whether it's the thing that gives us assurance, but before we even get there and receive that second opinion, do we not need to ask for it? And do we not need to appreciate that it is important? We are very trusting in many things. The simplest of example is probably we've all heard. You go into church in the past, say, faith. You came in, you sat down, and you had a faith that that chair, the bench will hold you, that it will not have anything in there that would harm you. Well, some of us aren't that trusting. Some of us are even more so. All right, we take us to the phone. Miss Susan says, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling. Oh, what are we doing, Miss Susan? Up to the caller. Hey, I followed the queue, and she said, nope, let's go this way. You stay on the line, and we'll come back to you.
In International. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government is ready to step up and help local farmers slammed by Tropical Storm Grace. Speaking in Finance Committee this week, Agriculture Minister the Honourable J.E. Banks told MPs so far at least 145 farmers were impacted by the storm, with 119 of them being crop producers. Mr. E. Banks says it isn't a one-time payment, rather a stipend to help carry the farmers through the end of hurricane season. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines in news elsewhere. Police in New Zealand shot and killed a violent extremist after he stabbed and wounded at least 6 people in an Auckland supermarket. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the incident was a terrorist attack carried out by a Sri Lankan national who was under police surveillance. The man was a supporter of the Islamic State ISIS terrorist group. Police killed the man within 60 seconds of the attack today. And a defrocked U.S. Roman Catholic cardinal has pleaded not guilty to sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy in the 1970s. 91-year-old Theodore McCarrick entered the plea at a court in Massachusetts, where he faces indecent assault and battery charges for the alleged 1974 incident. The former Washington, D.C. Archbishop is thought to be the highest-ranking U.S. Catholic to face sex abuse charges. He has previously said he has no recollection of any abuse. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. Thanks to Miss Susan. She does all the heavy lifting and makes it super easy. We just talk. Boy, she's managing the video, and she's managing the audio. So to our listeners, she's been very mindful to ask of me to say to our wonderful listeners that we just respect, love, and appreciate. Apologies for the slight technical issues, sometimes accessing the telephone line, in particular, the 800 number. We know that, internet service sometimes can be intermittent. It's just part and parcel, Sometimes the wind blows, sometimes the water rolls in. It's always something, and that's where we have to be appreciative of what we have and mindful of where it's at. But here are 2 options that allow you to call us if you choose. All right, 949-8037, option 1. Option 2, 949-6990. Now, the third option, you can use the WhatsApp, 925-3261. But don't call. Send a voice note, or however you can get it typed in, whether it's text to speech, or whether you use your fingers, or if you like someone else, you can dictate it and have someone else, type it for you. I remember, a good lady saying one morning, she's driving into work, and she realizes that she needs to get, the office up and running as early as it is. So her trusted assistant, the daughter in tow, heading to school, very much skilled and adept at using the phone. She says to little Susie, hey, would you help mommy out? Would you send a message to the office team that this is going to happen today? Remember, we need it. And even though it may be 3 hours away, I need everybody to not be forgetful that this will happen. And Susie is feeling so empowered and valuable, and types, the message at her mother's dictation as to what is going. The mother shared that led to, many mornings where little Susie is now the personal assistant to mommy. So much so that at some point, little Susie says, hey, mommy, could I get a little stipend for this? Why not? The child learns a little bit of commerce, learns how to negotiate, and earns a little income. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Wow, good afternoon to you. How are you?
Oh, I am so blessed, and I don't know what I've done to deserve it.
Well, if you would allow me to perhaps share, you are a blessed person as you are a blessing to others. You exhibit so much wonderfulness, and I think that's why that smile alone is so evident over the airwaves. So, you know what? You're deserving of much.
Well, I thank you. Yeah. And you know what? I don't care if you care, but I'm going to say something on the airways as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people don't even know this.
Mm-hmm.
That I was off island for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you know
Yes,
why
ma'am.
I was gone.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
not going to say that on the airwaves, but, you know, for
Mm-hmm.
obvious reasons.
Right.
But I want everyone to know that you took the time out to ask about me and to even write to me, checking on me.
But you're a friend, Mom.
And I was so very, very touched by that. Because sometimes the people that we think are friends
Mm-hmm.
and that we will hear from, they're the most silent. And it doesn't surprise me anymore because, like I said, this is not my first rodeo.
Yes, Mom.
So, you know, it does not even hurt
Right.
anymore.
But
I was waiting for the right opportunity
mm-hmm.
when there was no one to interrupt me with you to say that.
Well, you know what? I receive it and I thank you. But maybe as I hear it, maybe together, you guide me. Maybe what you just shared maybe is a reminder for all of us that even though we don't reach out when we think or when we realize that time has so been long since we last reached out, that we're mindful now that we should be very concerted because, and I say this understanding that the wounds are very deep and very real. It's no longer here today and gone tomorrow. It's here today and gone.
And gone today.
Right. And if I am very mindful that I could be creating problems for myself, like you, I have, you know, another friend who, like you, is so gracious with who she is, so considerate and giving. And I've said, you know, many times, thanks. And she's like, what are you thanking me for?
Exactly.
Well, I may not be able to express, I may not be willing to say why, but like you said, having someone who is there that you can say thanks goes a long way. So I receive what you shared, and as much as I don't like public acknowledgement, but you're most welcome.
You don't, that's why I didn't ask your permission.
Yeah. Thank you for next time do.
I am the same way,
Yes,
and that is why I have deliberately not said why I was gone. Because I don't want that to go across like I'm looking pity or sympathy.
Not at all.
And I don't like the staring, all the attention that comes with it. If you know and you want to say something, that's okay. I will say this though. This go round, having been there before and realizing how I was treated, and I'm going to say not acknowledged, but I wasn't acknowledged, so I guess it would be the lack of acknowledgement.
Right.
But anyway, it taught me some very valuable lessons. The one very valuable lesson I took from it is what value you have to other people that you hold in such high esteem. So there you need to reevaluate, and I call it my little process of eliminating. But anyway, but like I said, with what happened the first time, I had no great expectation this time. I said it to a handful of people, and they were the people I thought that it would have mattered to. But again, I was very wrong. So, and that's that. I hold no grudges. I hold no malice. I'm back home, thank God, and I will pick up my pieces, and I will keep going, you know.
You know, but that thing that you just shared about, you know, being of value to others, I think that is where many of us sometimes don't appreciate two things, that we are of a greater value than we recognize. But the flip side of that coin is that the people for whom we are invaluable don't share with us that we are or how we are, so that we can improve, so that we're conscious of it and maybe deliberately endeavor not to make any missteps. But like you know, maybe we need to have a greater sense of love for others and humility, and do and push on and sort of persevere.
It's a chain reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get it from God, you have to pass it on.
Yeah.
And before I forget, on speaking of value, my little tidbit to anyone is never make anyone decide what your value is. You put a value on you.
You know what? I'm glad you shared that, because I just shared that with someone recently, that we allow people to devalue us. They may not value our appreciation, but we should never let them devalue our worth. But yet it happens, huh?
Yeah, it happens if you allow it to happen.
Yeah, but it is like I was told yesterday, it's insidious. Someone over time just creepingly berates you and brings you down. And we don't know that impact of words. I mean, I've never been one to subscribe to nursery rhymes. You know what they say, rock a baby in a treetop. If that limb falls, bop, that baby's dead, right?
Well, you know, I'm proud of my, you know how I feel about my father, and therefore I always acknowledge my Jamaican heritage. And I am going to say to you, in Jamaica they would say, nah, that there, yeah, forget me, that is.
Or you got yeah, but what they say, nah, ain't good for talk.
Exactly. But anyway, for those who didn't understand, yours is a disease usually caused by dogs. At least that's what you know. And but I believe it can be passed on to humans. I'm not sure.
Right.
But anyway, but it seems like it's something that's very difficult, you know, for the dog to get rid of, or very expensive. So that's why, you know, when Jamaicans look at something that it needs to go yesterday, not tomorrow, but yesterday, and they will say, like, you're fresh like yours, you know, because like this yours shows up everywhere. So that's why I'm saying, you know, my whole thing in life, you fool me once, shame on you. You fooled me twice, it's shame on me. So for all those who've had their privileges with me, I say, free them, because you'll have no more.
Well, you know what? The whole notion that I think that we probably should take from all that we've experienced in recent times is that we should be more appreciative and maybe more willing to give of our time, our treasure, and our talents, and be willing to take. So you are a gracious lady who give so freely, and we're glad for that.
Yeah, and I was just going to say a lesson that I always taught my daughter, although I don't think she's ever learned that. But no, seriously, and I hope she's listening. But anyway, I always said to her, you know, after, you know, obviously things changed with my life, and I said to her, just learn. Friends are plenty. Sorry, company is plenty.
Few.
And friends are few.
Few and far between.
Never forget that.
Yeah. Well, Mom always says, you know, good follows good.
Right.
So,
like I said, it's a chain reaction.
Yep.
Negativity attracts negativity, and positivity attracts positivity.
Yep.
So I know that you probably need to go to a break. And guess what? I need to buy my bananas for the weekend. So on that note, I'm going to wish you and the lovely Susan a happy weekend and be safe.
All right. Well, listen, blessings to you, and you know, our love prayers are always there. So hopefully talk to you very soon. All right.
Yes. Okay, my darling. Okay.
Blessings, my lady. Blessings. You know, what they say sometimes, you know, you can chop the tree down, but if you even look at the stump that is there, it can be good firewood. Everything has a use. Don't let people devalue nor discard us. Sometimes they discredit and they diminish. Sometimes they're derogatory as they try to divide. But at the end of the day, you know, it's how we look at ourselves. And many of us can mask. Some of us can put forward such a good face that even though the foot follows and it may be reluctant, it can get us to a space and a place. And as the caller who reminds us, she shared, you know, company may be many, but good friends are few and far between. And for those who draw close to us, as we draw close to them, whether inadvertently, share at a time of something that we don't wish to. But if it's received with love, if it doesn't held against us, if it's used to nurture and to make us feel valued, maybe that's what we need to be when we talk about being our brother's keeper. Many never appreciate what they have, not even after it's gone. Some may only come to that realization as, and I say this with great love, as they sit by the grave day after day crying and wishing. I don't say this lightly, but it's probably too late then. It may not be, but it's probably too late then. You can't offer forgiveness, you can't receive it if it's at that graveside. Easier said than done, I believe. Let's pause and take that break. When we come back, more talk today.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Save every day with FedEx. Get 40% off when you ship using FedEx International Priority and an additional 5% off on your next shipment. Visit us. Visit FedEx.com keyword Caribbean discount to learn more.
For information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM for Cayman's Straight Talk Morning Show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Did you know that you must discard fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater? For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. 949-6990, 949-8037 if that flow toll-free line doesn't work for you. Let's go to the phones though. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello again.
Hello, how are you?
I am good, especially after just hearing your last caller.
Indeed.
She seems a little disgruntled today, and I don't want to seem flippish about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if that disgruntled situation caused her to call in, then I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always like to hear her delivery of her issues, how she parses, as my mother would say, parses and analyzes her circumstances. I just like her delivery style. And later, you know that in any crowd, you are tall. You are usually head and shoulders above the rest of us in the crowd. So don't worry about a thing. You are you today, you were you yesterday, and far away neighbor, I'm sure you'll be you tomorrow. You're good.
You know,
and have a nice day.
Well, thank you for sharing. And as you wish to disconnect, certainly appreciate it. But as I listen to you, maybe it is when people like you, like her, and others are so candid. Yes, they're diplomatic and respectful in what they share, but sometimes words need to be uttered in such a way that it calls us to sort of reflect on our actions or inactions. They may not be deliberate nor malicious nor anything that is mean, but unfortunately, because we're inattentive and absent, we don't realize the consequence, the hurt that we are inflicting on others. I say that very mindful of my own actions and endeavors sometimes, trying to choose between A and B, and not necessarily making the right choice at that time.
Mr. Sterling, we busy following the almighty dollar and moving on up like the Jeffersons to that gated community. We forget everything about each other and even ourselves. We are a confused bunch of people. I had a friend, she was actually born in Jamaica, but she grew up here from like a baby, like 3 months, 9 months, like that. She used to call us the Lost Tribe. Out in the desert, just walking around for 40 years, you see. Before they get 41 years, they're not going to come in. but we not reached that yet. Our years just seem long. So we still circling.
But why do you think that is? I mean,
I think it was yesterday. A good friend of mine asked me if I had heard a speech, most recent speech of Miss Barbados.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
She said, I know it had something to do with culture because she's sharp on her culture. She's always talking about culture and knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Until Caymanians know who we are, until we know who we are and stand firm.
Mm-hmm.
When it is great, you take the great, and when it is not so great, you find a way that you can make it better, or you can perceive how it should have been and do something about it to make us better. We are good people. We are being good people. I'm nearly 100 years old, and all I know is good Caymanians. We had little riffraff around the ages, but you know what? If you go back and look at ours, they used to wear "I'm a bum" T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't so bad,
Right. But even though, right, we may have
Caymanians are ashamed. I don't know who made us ashamed, but we are ashamed of who we are.
Yeah. Let me ask us if we can turn over that stone 1 second. So we have, like you said, the riffraff, but even in that riffraff, and I probably would include myself in that, there is some good in some of that. And
in plenty of it.
Right.
Plenty of it.
Right. But two things, and they almost seem to contradict. On one hand, we bring people that are not even as good as riffraff to our shores.
Okay, hold it down.
Yeah, and we elevate them. We allow them to get our communities, lock us out of places, and we celebrate them.
Okay.
And yet, by the same token, there are people who come sometimes from the same countries, from the same places, and they're wonderful people. They be here 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and they make incredible
personal choice.
Right, contributions, right?
It's a personal choice, though.
Okay.
Where do you, in a new country, where you're looking a better life for yourself? Because nobody don't come here to do nothing for me. They come to do for themselves. I might benefit in a way, but they come to do for themselves. When you come to a new country, what do you bring to put down by your doorstep to say, okay, you have given me this, an opportunity, but here's what I'm going to leave right here for you. You can come pick it up.
Right.
Nothing. And you know what? When they get off that airport out there and talking to all and sundry, we should have our case so made up that we pass them a sheet of paper, because if you ain't reading English, you're not supposed to be at least not in the job market, not in that kind of economy. Pass on piece of something written in English and Spanish, and let them cipher out if they want to be here by next week Tuesday, because by Monday you need to be gone.
Right. But
it's simple.
Let me pick up on what you said, maybe two things.
It's simple.
Right. The one thing that I find to be egregious, I mean, almost tough space that I cannot appreciate that we would even condone it, right? So that person that is less than a riffraff, and if that offends people, then they'll have to call and take me to task and maybe instruct me, right? That we elevate. By the same token, a person from a similar country is so loving and kind and considerate and giving. We don't embrace them, so we don't hold a person.
No. Because they're not pushing.
Oh, okay.
They're not pushing. They're not full of themselves. They are willing to give everybody a chance. They have a sense of justice. They have a sense of compassion. All of the things that aren't stylish.
Okay, so
in the modern world.
Let me do something that probably will deliberately offend many. Instead of that piece of paper that you suggested, right? So people have come, and I want to include all of us, because there are many of us who've been there for a long time, generation otherwise, that could really pick up the slack a little bit and do a little bit better and be a better example, right? So maybe it's the word accountability, maybe it's the word of responsibility, maybe it's the word consideration, whatever that word or thing is, right? So when we're doing our evaluation and we see, just make it two people, person A, we gotta stick with the word riffraff. Really, from the first utterance and appearance, we should just pack them, send them. And person B, right, who is so wonderful, why don't we embrace them and Spread the red carpet.
Because again, they're not pushing.
Right.
They're not egotistical.
Mm-hmm.
They have a sense of justice.
Right.
They're willing to give somebody a chance. All of the nice things. I can give you some names and then I go and leave you. Bowman, Muffet, Balls, you might know that, but Nugent, you might know that, but I tell you so, it's so.
Right.
And our own dear, beloved, departed from us, Miss Olive Miller. You want bigger Caymanian than that? You want more Caymanian than that? It's not possible.
Right. Well,
that's just to tell you that not everybody. It's who you choose to be your sense of who you are in this universe, and who everybody else is around you will dictate how you treat people and how welcome you are in the Cayman Islands. Because as Dr. Steve Macfield always says, and I used to hear my old people saying that, I've quite forgotten it, but he reminded me of it. Cayman is not for everybody, nor is everybody for Cayman. Cayman is too slow for most people. It's the money that got them here, the money that keeps them here, and the money that has them creating mayhem every day by keeping their feet, their knees on our necks and killing us. And you know that'll kill you now, right? The world has recognized that. Put your knee on the neck and just sit there. Let your body weight do the rest and gravity.
Right.
So anybody can be anything, any place. But in Cayman, it is even so much easier to be a Caymanian, because they claim that they can be a Caymanian because it just gives them rights and privileges. It's not because they want to be one of us. It's that money and the rights and privileges and to be left alone, etc., etc. But, you know, and I am not ashamed of me. I am not ashamed of me.
Right.
Believe me.
But are we at risk if we're not mindful, very careful in crafting that discussion to ensure that wherever the conversation is taking place in whatever format, that we're not dividing it by us and them, whatever that looks like? Because
I make nobody divide me from my people.
Exactly.
My people will do that themselves.
Right.
I make nobody quantify me. Let me tell you who I am. I'm Caymanian, I'm a woman, I'm poor, and I'm black.
Okay.
That's all you need to know about me. But know that I'm a woman, black and Caymanian.
Yeah.
And nobody can quantify me.
Right. But we assign labels to ourselves, and as you said, we divide ourselves. So in asking that, I'm wondering to what extent, again, that we are mindful of our actions and our words, that somehow assign labels, somehow, whether deliberately, consciously, or inadvertently, we malign and castigate each other. And more importantly, how can we now bring us together because we have a shared objective? We want to live in a very safe, successful place, a society that is stable and strong, a society that, without prompting, knows how to respond, when to respond, isn't waiting for some entity, government or a private sector, to do something. You know, I'm mindful of jurisdictions where I'm told, as part of its ethos, it knows how to respond to something in the aftermath of some sort of disaster. It's perhaps fire service brigade is somewhat of a voluntary thing. Now, that may or may not be the best way to go about it, but it has developed a skill set and training amongst its populace that this is what we do when this thing happens. Now, many would say that's a very primitive thing, but for some, it isn't that it is primitive, it is that it is necessary. And I'm wondering, man, are we doing this thing and conscious of what is happening, or are we just going about it?
Plenty of us are not conscious, but again, that's where people like you. And what was your word?
What's the instruction?
My word was teach, and your word was instruct. A much better word. You got to state, and I don't know. You mightn't even live to see the fruits of your labor, but somebody will get it.
But
someone will get it. We are a people. What she used to say? The Lost Tribe.
Yeah. But go back to that, and thank you for, as we sort of close it out, bring us back to that. That tribe wandered in the wilderness. They may have been afraid of their own shadows, and there were giants in their own eyes and so on. But at some point, they were supposed to get where they're going had they had their collective vision and a sense of unity. Now, and the faith, is that where we're lacking?
I kind of answer so.
Okay.
I kind of answer so. Imagine, I don't know where else in the world. I remember quite several years ago, the Indians in some South American country that lived up in the Midland and the jungles and never saw the sky because the trees are so tall. They left their jungle on foot, which I don't think was close. And they walked to their capital, to what you would call it, the House of Parliament or something like that. Some institution in their country. They walked, and you saw pictures of them in newspapers walking with baby and granny. They walking in their native dress, and it wasn't somebody else just coming and pitching on their native dress. You could see that had belonged to their great grandmother, that kind of style. They walked to their seat of government or whatever it was, but they walked, and seemingly everybody walked together. Seemingly everybody had a cause.
Well,
but Caymanians just tear down, we tear down. Well, I tell you the truth, I'm not tearing down too many Caymanians unless they're doing drugs, molesting people's children, breaking and entering. For the rest of it, I can try to see psychologically and emotionally and financially how they got there. I don't like them other three one there.
Right.
But I can try to see how they got there. And if we spend time to walk in another man's shoes, sometimes we feel where the pinch is and why they were walking on their heels and not flat down in the parade, and they had looked so different, and everybody was scowling at them because the shoe is tight. It had a tack in the bottom of the foot. They couldn't stop to take it out. So on and so forth. But Caymanians don't have time for Caymanians because guess what? We are led in that way. We got in these pretty big offices to work. You don't get in the door unless you show them that you're willing to acquiesce. And when you get in the door, to me, it come in like gangland, somewhere about. You got to do certain crimes before you come up in here. So you got to have certain behaviors before you can be accepted. And I believe the first behavior is, will you condemn your own? And if you know, quick to the jump and say, yeah, but I had done that already too.
But isn't that what is happening now, right? That
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and we're finding more and more ways to divide as opposed to unite. And
well, I hear somebody from Radio Cayman, because I'm not on another radio station today, talking about the Willie Lynch letter either today or last night. And I could go and find that. BET, Nikki Giovanni is the link, and I go find that. Read the Willie Lynch letter, tell all the foreign folk out there, and I go get it too. Because we've been wise a long time. I had that before, Ivan. And I go find the Willie Lynch letter, Caymanians, and in particular, Caymanians of color. Can't call them black, you know they'll hate me. Caymanians of color. And I go find the Willie Lynch letter and find out what a condition is. You can't go HSA for that. And I find out what a condition is, and there's a remedy. It's called be proud of yourself. Be willing to work and honor your people and honor your country. That's why not many people likes me, because look at every bread of breeze that passes is mine. All the sand greens we are down the west, being out north side, every one of them belongs to me, and every leaf that flutters in that breeze is mine. And I know plenty of old people because I old, so I had no plenty of people, old people. You can't tell me who I am. I know who a Caymanian is and what and who we need to be. And I don't make anybody that come here on a flight at Oriah tell me, quantify me. Nothing like that. I still call me porridge, and I like fritters, not fritters. I don't know what that is.
Well, I know fritters.
But anyhow, you have a nice weekend, sir.
Well, my lady, you do the same. Thanks for that. And maybe in the discussion somewhere down the line, we'll start to appreciate that is intended to inform, not inflame. It is intended to maybe educate and empower, sometimes elevate and cause people to get to a space where they can appreciate that. Just like we're told that for the oyster to produce the pearl, there may be a bit of irritation, but as long as it doesn't cause a chafe that you can't walk, or doesn't cause, that thing that make you so blinded to what is before you, not because you're looking at others, but because you're looking within. Well, Monday looms, and I trust and pray that we are very much a part of it in a productive way, that this weekend will bring increased blessings as we, mourn the loss of our loved ones, as we look at, the tragedies that lie ahead, as we pensively anticipate the problems and perils that may, plague our people, that we at least are appreciative. Where there's life, there's hope, and where there's hope and health, there can be happiness, and where there's health and happiness and hope and the like, we can share and share alike. Well, thank you for letting me, be here, and if you continue to invite me, I'll see if I can accept it and do so responsibly. To the technical staff for fixing and addressing our issues with the phones. Hopefully by Monday that'll be resolved so that Mr. Art can again welcome you as he engages in a very meaningful discourse. And then come back for Talk Today. It is the first Monday of the month. It is a monthly mental health matters. We'll have that come Monday. But until now and then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village. Convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman, the voice